A man is walking down the street wearing the green and white colours of the Celtic Glasgow jersey. And as he's walking down the street, he sees another man as he's about to cross the road. And that second man is wearing the blue and white colours of Rangers FC. And he instantly takes a dislike to him. But this isn't Glasgow, this is Belfast. What is key to understanding the relationship between sports rivalries and cultural tensions, I believe, is primarily understanding what a rivalry actually means. In my eyes, a rivalry is a competition between athletes or sports clubs where it carries a long history of intense competitive tension. And people often ask the question, why are rivalries so seriously? Why do people take rivalries so seriously? And why do they stimulate such intense emotions in fans? Or often it's because sports rivalry means more than just winning or losing. They often reflect social, political, and religious and cultural tensions that may pre-exist in our society. And when groups and communities of these societies or of these religions already have pre-existing tensions, this can cause the rivalry to become more intense because fans see supporting their club as a way of supporting what they believe in and supporting their community. And I used the Glasgow derby as an example at the start because that is an example of one of the most famous rivalries in history. It dates all the way back to 1888. Celtic was formed in 1887 with its primary, the reason why it was formed was to help poor Irish Catholic immigrants in Scotland. And so naturally they associate more with the Irish culture and the Irish heritage. If you were to close your eyes and imagine yourself in that environment or witnessing the Old Firm derby live in the flesh, if you were to see the Celtic fans, they would often be waving the Irish flags, they would be wearing green, they would be wearing a four-leaf coat with a shamrock on their chest, and singing Irish folk hymns as a way of celebrating that Irish pride and that Irish culture. And in contrast to that, if you were to see the Rangers section of the stadium, you'd be likely to see them waving the Union flag and singing British folk hymns as a way of celebrating that British and English relationship. And this massive contrast has intensified this rivalry so much so to the point where we are seeing the effects of that rivalry take place outside of the city. You know, at the demonstration I used at the start, we are seeing the shirt become a symbol of not only the team you support, but what you believe in. The first man instinctively looked at the second man and said to himself, "You're wearing a different colour to me. We are rivals with each other, therefore we cannot be friends with each other, we can't get along with each other." And what is key to understanding this relationship between cultural tensions and sports rivalries, what else is important is the proximity of these clubs. This rivalry takes place in Glasgow, and another example of such intense rivalry is the Super Classico between Boca Juniors and River Plate. And both teams originated in the same district of Buenos Aires called La Boca. They originated in the same working class, and over the years, River Plate sort of moved on to more of the wealthier side of the city and became associated with more of an affluent image. Los Millonarios, they call themselves, the millionaires. And Boca Juniors sort of stayed associated more with that working class. And this sparked an intense rivalry, so much to the point where people visiting South America often see that rivalry or that experience as something to tick off on their bucket list because of how that cultural identity and that social status has affected that rivalry. And naturally, a lot of crime is associated with these type of rivalries because of how intense they are. You know, that raises the question that are cultural tensions affecting the sport in a negative way? We often see rivalries being celebrated because they influence more competition between teams and they shed more light on the sport. But are they actually creating social issues? The social and public costs of repairing damage after intense rivalries and thuggery happening in the fan bases in these games, compared to another rivalry such as the El Clasico, where the two teams are in different cities. Barcelona being the capital of Catalonia, associating more of that Catalonian pride, in opposition to Real Madrid being the capital of Real Madrid, being the capital of Spain, and associating more with Spain as a nation. So it's important to understand how the proximity of those clubs are affecting the nature of the rivalry. So, cultural tensions are a big factor of the sport. Sporting rivalries are being massively affected by cultural tensions and social, political, and religious issues, to the point where we're raising the question, can we even call them sports rivalries? Crime is being a big part of this rivalry because, a big part of this issue because of how massively these cultural tensions affect these rivalries, to the point where it's creating social divide and it can become more of a social issue.
Yeah.